circulated worldwide. It's heartbreaking to witness young teens, especially girls, grappling with the overwhelming challenges posed by malicious online content, like deepfakes. This toxic environment can be severely damaging. We must prioritize their well-being by equipping them with support and tools necessary to navigate this hostile digital landscape. Every young person deserves a safe online space to express themselves freely without the looming threat of exploitation or harm. To the brave survivors of NCII, your strength inspires the courage in others. To the advocates, your voices power our youth and hopefully bring change. And to the families, your unwavering love is a pillar of resilience. Thank you again to Senator Cruz, Speaker Johnson, House Majority Leader Scalise, Representative Salazar, Chairman Guthrie, Chairwoman McCain, Chairman Hare, and Representative Kahan for being here today and for your dedication to this important cause. I was heartened to learn that Senator Cruz and Senator Klobuchar are united to prioritize this fundamental matter. I must admit, however, I expected to see more Democrats, leaders with us here today, to address this serious issue. Surely, as adults, we can prioritize Americans' children ahead of partisan politics. I urge Congress to prioritize the passage of the Take It Down Act bill. This legislation is essential for addressing the growing concerns related to online safety, protecting individual rights, and promoting a healthier digital environment. By advocating this bill, Congress can take an important step towards ensuring accountability and fostering responsibly online behavior. The Take It Down Act bill represents a powerful step toward justice, healing, and unity. Thank you.
And thank you very much. I want to thank the First Lady for being here, and your presence and your leadership on this issue is incredibly important, and I'm confident it's going to play a critical role in accelerating the passage of this bill and getting it passed into law so that we can protect all our kids and young women and young men across the country. I now want to turn to the leader in the House, Representative Salazar, for her remarks.
There. Thank you to all of you, and thank you to the First Lady of the United States, to Senator Cruz, for having taken up this cause. The force, as Senator said, the force of your presence, Madam, is not only going to save children's lives, but will also make this legislation the law of the land. I have no doubt that the House of Representatives will make this law a priority, as I have spoken to the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. So thank you for making our jobs as legislators a lot more effective. As the Senator said, the name of the legislation that we're presenting is called the Take It Down Act. Its mission is very simple. It's profound and long-lasting. It stops cyber abuse. It prevents bullying one child against another. Even more important, is going to prevent suicide out of shame. It is outrageously sick to use the images, the face, the voice, the likeness of a young, vulnerable female, to manipulate them, to extort them, to humiliate them publicly just for revenge or just for fun. That is why we created this bill, and it's going to stop the abuse throughout social media. It is widely known that 99% of the time, the victim, most of them girls, don't even know that their faces, their bodies, their intimate parts are being circulated around the internet in fake, compromising pornographic images. But perception is reality, unfortunately, and even though these images do not belong to them, they are paying the price dearly. So they see it, they live it, they have to suffer it, and they don't have any recourse. as the senator said, up until today, up until now. Our bill, the Take It Down Act, finally is sending a very big message to big tech that they have to bring down these images, fake images, within 48 hours. No more time than that, no more excuses. If not, big tech then will be just as guilty as the aggressors. Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok will have to comply within 48 hours when the victim demands that they take down those pornographic images. Now our messages to the bullies, to the perverts, to the predators. If you dare to do this to another innocent child, you are going to go to prison. You will serve jail time. That will be a great place where you can sit and ponder what you did and be consumed by your conscience. Up until now, the parents of victims found that the schools, they couldn't do anything. The police couldn't do anything. Nothing. Big tech couldn't do anything, according to them. No more. This legislation has taken the power away from the aggressors and the accomplices and have given it back to the victims and their parents. What a great honor for me to be part of this initiative. Thank you very much, and thank you, Madam, for making this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Salazar, for your friendship, for your leadership on this important issue. I now want to introduce our victim advocates who will share their stories and explain why it is important that we urgently pass the Take It Down Act. Here with us first are two teenage victims of AI-generated sexually exploitative images. Miss Elliston Berry of Aledo, Texas, and Miss Francesca Mani of Westfield, New Jersey. Both of these young ladies were victims of virtually the identical crime within weeks of each other. Elliston was just 14 years old when a male classmate of hers took an innocent photo off her Instagram page and used an app to create an explicit image, a deepfake AI, that in turn was sent to her classmates at school. Elliston helped inspire the Take It Down Act, and she's a Texan, and she and her mother contacted my office and relayed what happened, and we were horrified, and she was the initial inspiration for writing this bill. And Melania, I'll tell you an amazing aspect. When I was sitting down with Elliston and her mother, Anna, who's here as well, I asked in my office, I said, what's happened to the images? And they looked at me with enormous frustration, and they said, they're still up. It's been 9 months. Elliston's mom said she had called Snapchat, she'd emailed them, she tried repeatedly, take this garbage down of my daughter. And she had gotten no response at all, no movement. I turned to my staff in my office that afternoon and I said, I want you to get the CEO of Snapchat on the phone today. I want those pictures down today. Within 2 hours, they pulled them down. Now, it should not take a sitting senator or a sitting member of Congress picking up the phone to get a picture down or a video down. It should be the right of every American. Every teenage girl victimized should have the right to get this garbage taken down, and this bill will give them that right as a matter of federal law. And with that, Elliston, if you would share with the First Lady and share with everyone here just what happened to you just tell your story.
Thank you, Senator Ted Cruz. I was just 14 years old when a classmate created AI nudes of me from an innocent social media picture. I was 14 years old when I was violated all over social media, and I was just 14 years old when my innocence was stripped away. October 2nd, 2023, I woke up to messages from a friend notifying me that these photos of me were circulating social media. Pictures from a past Instagram photo with a nude body and my face attached, made from AI. Fear, shock, and disgust were just some of the many emotions I felt. I felt responsible and began to blame myself and was ashamed to tell my parents despite doing nothing wrong. As I attended school, I was scared of the reactions of someone could recreate these photos, and I lived in fear that they would resurface and that they would get brought up as I attended school. The school was little to no help and said that it was out of their control. I not only blamed the classmate Big Tech. The boy used a Google app called DNGG that existed to remove articles of clothing from a photo available for all ages for free. While that app is no longer available, thousands of other apps similar are available. Additionally, social media needs to be required to take action. It wasn't until Ted Cruz's office heard my story and reached out to Snapchat personally, and then my photos were removed. We need to hold big tech accountable to take action. I came here today to not only promote this bill, but to fight for the freedom of so many survivors. Millions of people, male, female, teenage, children, kids, all are affected by the rise of this image-based sexual abuse. This is unacceptable. The Take It Down Act will give a voice to the victims and provide justice. I want to say thank you to Senator Ted Cruz and his team. Thank you to all the advocates pushing this bill and this legislation. It is vital for the growing of technology. The situation is bigger than politics. This bipartisan bill is to protect America's children. Thank you to the First Lady and the House leadership for understanding how important this issue is and taking time to learn about this vital piece of legislation. I share my story to give victims a voice they never heard and had changed this horrible situation into something good. Thank you to everyone who is supporting this. It is so inspiring to know that my voice is being heard, giving hope to not only me, but to all the many people that have been affected by this. It is truly so amazing how this awful situation has turned into good. Thank you.
So I'll tell you, Elliston and I and her mother several months ago had the opportunity to do a number of TV interviews, and we went on Good Morning America, and at the end of it, I think Good Morning America was ready to offer Elliston an anchor spot. I think the folks interviewing us got nervous for their jobs because thank you, both you and your mom have enormous courage, and you're standing up and speaking the truth, and it has a power to change and protect others. What is remarkable is in the exact same month that Ellison was being victimized, 2,000 miles away in New Jersey, Francesca Manni was going through the exact same situation. She was also 14. She was also a target of this same predation. And like Elliston, Francesca has spoken out about her experience. Both Francesca and Elliston testified at a field hearing that I held in Dallas. Francesca recently appeared on 60 Minutes to tell her story, and she's another incredible young woman, along with her mom, who are standing up and fighting to protect others. And so, Francesca, thank you for being here as well, and would you please tell us what you experienced?
Okay. Is it on? Okay. At 14 years old, my classmates created deepfake images of me and other girls at my high school. The most disturbing part, not just that they thought it was okay, but that the school failed to hold them accountable. While the girls' names were announced over the intercom, the boys were quietly pulled from their classrooms, a blatant violation of privacy and disrespect towards us. Despite the seriousness of the incident, only one boy received a one-day suspension. 2 years later, those responsible are still in my school, representing in team sports as if nothing ever happened. That is not okay. When I asked my school why they weren't using the code of conduct or HIP policies, their response, they need to be updated to include AI. My response was, then update it. It took them 1 year to make changes, yet my mom's lawyers created an updated version within a week of that incident. The HIP investigation, which was supposed to take 10 days, dragged on for almost a year, completely unacceptable. The school's only response to the community was a single email dismissing the issue as widespread misinformation. This silence sent a dangerous message. To the girls, you are not worth fighting for, and to the boys, what you did is okay. I expected clear and decisive action. The school should have said, this is not okay, and you are expelled. In school, the question should not be about legality alone. It should be about what is right, what is ethical. Teenagers might not know all the laws, but they do know when something is wrong. Schools need to take immediate, serious action to ensure that AI exploitation, harassment, and deepfake abuse are met with real consequences. We need laws, and with the help of Senator Cruz, Congresswoman Salazar, and now the involvement of you, the First Lady, I truly believe we are on track to passing a federal law to protect women and children. Even though AI exploitation can happen to anyone, 96% of victims of AI misuse are women and children. So we are seriously vulnerable and we do need laws. The Department of Education must finally step up and issue clear AI guidelines on how schools should handle these incidents nationwide. AI isn't going anywhere. It's here to stay. Schools must be proactive, not just in teaching students how to protect their image or avoid committing a crime through AI misuse, but also in teaching how to use AI as a tool for advancement. Throughout my advocacy, I have met incredible organizations, leaders who are focused on legislation and regulation, but that's just one part of the conversation. Since being named one of Time 100's most influential people in AI, I've had the privilege of meeting brilliant minds using AI to advance society in research, medicine, education, climate control, art, and more. Yes, AI needs regulation, but we also need to acknowledge its potential and prepare the next generation through AI literacy programs in schools ASAP. I love JFK's speech, where he challenges us to ask what we can do for our country. Lately, feels like everyone is asking what the country can do for us. With AI, we should all be asking, what can I do by myself to advance and empower my future using AI? Now, let's be clear, every aspect matters, but it must start with legislation. A strong federal law is crucial, one that shifts powers back to the victims, ensuring they can remove harmful images within 48 hours. That's not just policy, that's real tangible protection. That's take it down. We need this to pass. Thank you.
Francesca, thank you also for your courage and your strength and your clarity. Both you and Elliston are inspirational, and we're proud to have you with us today. As Francesca mentioned, over 90% of the victims of non-consensual intimate images are either women or young girls. It doesn't just affect teenagers. Adults can also be victimized. And Breeze Lou, when she was 24 years old, she got a nightmare phone call from her friend that an explicit video of hers had been posted on a pornography website. That phone call started a series of events in which Breeze would rise to lead the fight for the removal of these abusive images. Breeze, thank you for being here. Thank you for your leadership. Tell us about what you experienced and what you've done to try to stop it.
Thank you. It is both humbling and empowering for me to be here today. On behalf of millions of survivors, I'd like to thank you for giving us a voice and shining a spotlight on this critical issue. We stand at a defining moment in human history. Artificial intelligence has given us unprecedented power and brought profound transformation. But with extraordinary technology advancement, we also face immense challenges. In April 2020, my life changed forever. A friend called to tell me that a video of me was circulating on Pornhub. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I have never even visited Pornhub, but when I clicked the link, I saw my face on a pornographic video. The devastation I felt is indescribable. I was humiliated, dehumanized, and overwhelmed with shame. But when I sought help, the system failed me. I was victim blamed and slut shamed while the perpetrator faced zero consequences. As more videos spread to hundreds of malicious websites, I nearly lost everything. My dignity, my reputation, and I almost lost my life. For every victim, there is a moment when the ground disappears beneath you, when the shame, the violation, the loss of control, it all consumes you. And then when you reach for help, you find there is none. No accountability, no recourse, just a system that shrugs and says it's too complicated, it's impossible to fix, the internet is too big. But America is a nation that does not accept impossible. In 1969, an American set his foot on the moon and said, that is one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. This nation did something that was once believed to be impossible. With computing power equivalent to a basic calculator, we accomplished one of the greatest feats in human history. When it comes to ending online violence, America must lead. The Take It Down Act is an essential first step. It creates accountability where there was none before. It ensures that victims can have harmful content removed swiftly, lifting the unbearable burden survivors have long carried alone. If legislation is the foundation, technology is the bridge. History will not remember us for the tools we build. It will remember us for how we choose to wield it. The internet, AI, the digital tools are not inherently good or evil. They reflect the values of those who control them. This is a tech-enabled problem, and it requires a tech-enabled solution. The same technology that created this issue can also power its solution, and this is why we find hope. And this is what my work at Electo AI is about, building human-centered AI to combat AI abuse. To those who say this problem is too big, I say this: America is not in the habit of backing down from hard fights. Today, the smartphone in our pocket holds computing power thousands of times greater than what NASA used during the Apollo program. We have the technology to fix this. We have the legislation to create accountability. Now we need the will to act. This is a nation that has always led the world in shaping the future, not waiting for someone else to do it first. The future is being decided now. So let us rise to this challenge, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. It is time to reclaim our humanity in a digital age. Let history show that when faced with injustice, we did not stand idly by. We fought, we built, we progressed, and we won. Pass this bill. Take action. Let us build a digital future that is safe, just, and worthy of the generations to come. Do not let my yesterday become their tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.
Breeze, thank you very much for your courage and your clarity. What you experienced and Elliston experienced and Francesca experienced was a grotesque violation of your privacy and your fundamental rights. And each of you has used that pain to advocate for others and to try to stop someone else from being victimized the way you have been. Although the vast majority of the targets of this abuse are women and young girls, young boys can be targeted as well. And the FBI has warned that there's a growing threat of sextortion deliberately targeting minors online, where evil people use either real or fake explicit images to extort their victims both sexually and financially. And in some instances, the results can be even more devastating and catastrophic. And that was the tragic situation that South Carolina State Representative Brandon Guffey and his family experienced in 2022. Representative Guffey, would you please share what happened with your son?
Thank you, Senator Cruz. July 27th, 2022, I lost my oldest son, Gavin Guffey, to suicide. We quickly found out that he was being extorted online, that someone pretending to be a young female at another college requested images to be shared back and forth, and as soon as he shared those images, he took his life. It was an hour and 40 minutes from the time that he was contacted until the time that he took his life. At that time, I had never heard of the crime of sextortion. I was always a more liberty-minded politician, even though I hate to say that word. And, you know, I wanted freedom as much as possible. But as I started looking into this, I started to see that big tech operates, and they are the equivalent of big tobacco of today's generation. The account that targeted my son, that caused him to take his life, was taken down online once Homeland Security reached out. However, they left the additional accounts up. If I send a friend request, I can choose remove this account and any other accounts associated. Yet they left these other accounts up, and those other accounts began to extort my 14-year-old cousin, my 16-year-old son who had just lost his brother, and myself as well.
You have been listening in to a roundtable discussion on Capitol Hill with First Lady Melania Trump, a part of her Be Best initiative. She is supporting the Take It Down Act, which criminalizes those who put up non-consensual images, sexual images online. But now we do actually want to take you to the White House in the Roosevelt Room, where President Trump has just walked out to give remarks on an investment. Let's listen in.
He's a legend, but he is a legend, and it's an honor to be with you. Very great honor. Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Welcoming from TSMC, which is the biggest there is at a level that you can't even calculate, frankly. CC Wei to the White House for a very historic announcement. This is a tremendous thing for our country and hopefully for his company. We're also pleased to be joined by Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and White House AI and SIP, the crypto czar David Sachs, another two very highly respected people. It's great to have you guys involved. And David, thank you very much for coming on. David is sort of the king of intellect in that world. We have some good people. Today, Taiwan Semiconductor is announcing that they will be investing at least $100 billion in new capital in the United States over the next short period of time to build state-of-the-art semiconductor manufacturing facilities. I think mostly it's going to be in Arizona, which is what I understand, which is a great state. I like it because I won it, but I won most of them, actually. But I did. We won it, and we won it big. The most powerful AI chips in the world will be made right here in America. And it'll be a big percentage of the chips made by his company. But as you know, they're based mostly in Taiwan. And they're far and away the biggest. There's nobody even close. This $100 billion in new investment will go into building 5 cutting-edge fabrication facilities in the great state that we just discussed, Arizona, and will create thousands of jobs, many thousands of jobs, and they're high-paying jobs. In total, today's announcement brings Taiwan Semiconductor investments to about $165 billion they've started already. Among the largest new foreign direct investments in the United States, Apple, as you know, made a big announcement last week of $500 billion, and we have some others that have announced. We have many that want to announce. But I don't have time to do all of these announcements, I tell you. But for you, I'm doing the announcement.
Thank you.
This will create hundreds of billions of dollars in economic activity and boost America's dominance in artificial intelligence and beyond. Semiconductors are the backbone of the 21st century economy. And really, without the semiconductors, there is no economy. Powering everything from AI to automobiles to advanced manufacturing. And we must be able to build the chips and semiconductors that we need right here in American factories with American skill and American labor. And that's exactly what we're doing. As you know, Taiwan pretty much has a monopoly on that market. And I think pretty much is not a term that's even appropriate. They do have a monopoly. And this is a tremendous move by the most powerful company in the world. It's a matter of economic security. It's also a matter of national security for us. And at the same time, Mr. Wei will be able to diversify and have his a tremendous presence in another place and a very safe place. And I want to thank Taiwan Semiconductor for doing the announcement. And I'd like to ask Mr. Wei to say a few words, if you might. And I'd also like to ask Howard and David, you can say a couple of words, but maybe you should go first, because right now he's the most important man in the room. I'm sorry, fellas. Please. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Great
Mr.
honor.
President.
Thank you.
I'm a little bit nervous, so I have to pull out my piece of paper. Mr. President, Secretary Lutnick, and David, I didn't know that your title, but okay. First, I want to say thank you to Mr. President to give me this opportunity to announce our big project in the U.S. TSMC is the world's largest chip manufacturing, funded by Dr. Morris Chen in 1987. It's now at the forefront of semiconductor technology, supporting AI advancement and industry growth. In fact, I would like to wind back the time that in 2020, we have to thank President Trump's vision and his support. So TSMC started the journey of establishing the advanced chip manufacturing in Arizona. And now, let me proudly say, now the vision become reality. In Phoenix, Arizona, with 3,000 employees, we are producing the most advanced chip made on U.S. soil. With the success of our first fab, so we are now very happy to announce we are going to invest additional $100 billion in addition to our current $65 billion investment in Arizona. We are going to build 3 more new fabs after we promised 3 fabs already, and another 2 very advanced packaging fab, and most important, R&D center also in Arizona. For this, all the investment, $165 billion, is going to create thousands of the high-paid jobs, as the president just announced. And we are, most important, actually, we are going to produce many AI chips. We are going to produce many chips to support the AI progress and to support the smartphones progress. And again, with that, I want to thank President Trump again for his support. In addition, I also want to thank my customers in the U.S., such as Apple, NVIDIA, AMD, Qualcomm, Broadcom. They all support TSMC's manufacturing in the U.S. Without their support, we probably cannot make it through. So again, I want to thank them. Also, I'd like to thank the TSMC's employee. Without their effort, we just cannot make it today. That's all I want to say, and thank you.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you very much. Howard, please, David. Sure. Thank you.
So I'm thrilled to be here today because President Trump has made it a fundamental objective to bring semiconductor chip manufacturing home to America. Under the Biden administration, TSMC received a $6 billion grant, and that encouraged them to build $65 billion. So America gave TSMC 10% of the money to build here. And now you're seeing the power of Donald Trump's presidency, because TSMC, the greatest manufacturer of chips in the world, is coming to America with a $100 billion investment. And of course, that is backed by the fact that they can come here because they can avoid paying tariffs. So the idea is come to America, build greatness in America, build for the American customers, the Apple, NVIDIA, that whole list that Chairman Wei gave in order to bring production to America. So we're really, really excited. This continues the most incredible path you've ever seen in these first weeks and months of the Trump administration of incredible manufacturing coming to America. The keys that the president has called out are coming here. They're coming here in huge size because they want to be in the greatest market in the world, and they want to avoid the tariffs that if they're not here, they'd have to suffer. So I want to congratulate C.C. Wei for bringing in this incredible $100 billion investment, but it's on the shoulders of our President Donald Trump, which is why he's coming. So thank you.
Thank you. David?
Thank you, sir. Well, the products that TSMC makes are literally the most important products in the world. I mean, these advanced chips power everything. They power AI, they power your phone, they power your cars, and without them, the whole modern economy would stop, but they're not made in the United States. So for TSMC to move here is a huge, huge development, and we owe that to President Trump's leadership on the economy and Secretary Lutnick as well. And Cece, thank you for coming here. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, David. So thank you very much. A big percentage of chips with this investment will be made now, a big percentage. Worldwide, we had very little, almost none. We used to have a lot with Intel, but we had very little. And we'll be at close to 40% of the market with this transaction and a couple of others that we're doing. That's a tremendous leap, like a leap that nobody would have really said was possible. So I just want to thank you all for being here. If you want a couple of questions, ideally on this subject, yes.
Number of jobs that will be created. He said
you're probably talking about 20, 25,000 jobs, but it'll get bigger and bigger with time. Knowing this gentleman, it'll get bigger and bigger. There'll be no stopping him. Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
In addition to the job, you talked about national security, and that's one thing I think a lot of Americans don't understand. Explain the national security aspect of this.
Well, without the chips and semiconductors, nothing runs today. You can't buy a car without them. You can't get a radio, a television, nothing. You can't get anything. And we thought it was very important, obviously business-wise, but we thought even in terms of national security to have this large percentage of the chips, semiconductors, and other things that they make the most important product, and not a product that you can really copy. It takes years and years. You know, on the needle of a pin is total genius. I mean, they can put things, I mean, something the size of the needle, the point of a pin, they put information that is just not even believable. So if you would see this, it's just really something. Yes, Brian?
One aspect of that, Honda announced they're coming to Indiana because of the tariffs. Once again,
that's right.
Bringing additional jobs in manufacturing. You want to comment on that as well?
Well, Honda's coming, and I told you about Apple, that they're going to be starting to build massively here, $500 billion. And we have many other companies going to be announced, but we had many that have already announced. And now it's going to be great. It's looking really strong. I don't think this country has ever seen anything like we're seeing right now. Now, the tariffs, as you know, will start a week earlier than the reciprocal, which is going to be on a couple of weeks earlier. Reciprocal tariffs start on April 2nd. And I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to go April Fool's Day, because that costs a lot of money, but that one day. But so we're going April 2nd. But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs. In other words, you build, and this is exactly what Mr. Wei is doing, by building here. Otherwise, they'll build, if they did them in Taiwan to send them here, they'll have 25% or 30% or 50% or whatever the number may be someday. It'll go only up. But by doing it here, he has no tariff, so he's way ahead of the game. And I would just say this to people in Canada or Mexico: if they're going to build car plants, the people that are doing them are much better off building here, because we have the market. We're the market where they sell the most. And so I think it's going to be very exciting for the automobile companies, very exciting for, I can think of any, as an example, North Carolina, they had the great, I used to go there to buy furniture for hotels, and it's been wiped out. That business all went to other countries. And now it's all going to come back into North Carolina, the furniture manufacturing business, please.
Is the Ukraine minerals deal now dead, or can it be revived?
Well, I'll let you know. We're making a speech. You probably heard about it tomorrow night, so I'll let you know tomorrow night. But no, I don't think so. I think it's a great deal for us because, you know, Biden very, very foolishly, stupidly, frankly, gave $300 billion and $350 billion more accurately to a country to fight and to try and do things. And you know what happened? We get nothing. just gave it. We could have rebuilt our entire U.S. Navy with $350 billion. Think of it, $350 billion. We could have rebuilt our U.S. Navy. So he gave it away as fast as the money could be gone. And what we're doing is getting that all back and a lot more than that. And we need, it's very important for this business that we're talking about here with chips and semiconductors and everything else. We need rare earths. And the deal we have is we have the finest rare earths that you can.
Mr. President, what do you need to see from President Zelensky to restart these negotiations?
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us because, as you know, that's right there. That's the border. This country really was like the fence on the border. It was very important to Europe, and I'm not knocking Europe. I'm saying that they were a lot smarter than Joe Biden because Joe Biden didn't have a clue. He just gave money hand over fist, and they should have been able to equalize with us. In other words, if we gave $1, they should have given. Well, we gave $350 billion. They probably gave 100, but on top of it all, they get their money back because they're doing it in the form of a loan, and it's a secured loan. So when I saw that, which I've known about for a little while, I said it's time for us to be smart. At the same time, it's great for them because they get us in the country taking the rare earth, which is going to fuel this big engine, and especially the engine that we've in a very short time created. And we get something, and we're there. We have a presence there. With all of that being said, I want one thing to happen. I want all of those young people to stop being killed. They're being killed by the thousands every single week. Last week, 2,700 were killed. 2,700 young, in this case, just about all young boys from Ukraine and from Russia. And that's not young people from the United States, but it's on a human basis. I want to see it stop. The money is one thing, but the death. And they're losing thousands of soldiers a week. And that's not including the people that get killed every time a town goes down or a missile goes into a town. And I want to see it stop. Yes.
Are you considering canceling military aid to Ukraine? And can we get a reaction to what the Kremlin just said, that your administration is bringing U.S. worldview in alignment with Moscow's?
So this is a deal that should have never happened. This is a deal that would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. It didn't happen. It was never even close to happening. If I were president, it would not have happened. And October 7th would not have happened in Israel. And inflation wouldn't have happened. And Afghanistan, disastrous, the way they withdrew. Not the fact that they withdrew, but the way they withdrew would have never happened. And we would have had Bagram right now instead of China having it. It was 1 hour away from where China makes their nuclear weapons. We would have kept Bagram, one of the biggest air bases in the world. All of these things happened, and it's a shame. But it is what it is, and now we're here. I want to see it end fast. I don't want to see this go on for years and years. Now, President Zelensky supposedly made a statement today in AP. I'm not a big fan of AP, so maybe it was an incorrect statement, but he said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time. And he better not be right about that. That's all I'm saying.
This project, could this minimize the impact to the U.S. with chips should China decide to isolate Taiwan or China decide to take Taiwan?
Well, it's a very interesting point. It's a great question, actually, but this would certainly, I can't say minimize. That would be a catastrophic event, obviously. But it will at least give us a position where we have, in this very, very important business, we would have a very big part of it in the United States. So it would have a big impact if something should happen with Taiwan.
Are you looking at relieving Russian sanctions if there is a peace deal?
Well, we're going to make deals with everybody to get this war, including Europe and European nations. And they've acted very well. You know, they're good people. I know most of them are friends of mine. The heads of state, the heads of the various countries, prime ministers from the different. I got four prime ministers and 5 presidents called me over the last 2 days, and they want to work it out. They want to get it worked out. And I think they're also, you know, they're talking money, but the money is less important than the deaths. We're talking thousands of young people a week. And people would say, why do I care about Ukraine young people. Why do I care about? And not all young, but they're pretty young. You know, Ukraine is running a little bit low, and they're getting older. They're recruiting older people. It's a very, very sad thing that's happening over there, and we want to get it finished. We want to stop the death.
On the tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight? And should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take
No
effect?
room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, you know, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
Mr. President, just to follow up on my colleague's question.
And just so you understand, vast amounts of fentanyl have poured into our country from Mexico, and as you know, also from China, where it goes to Mexico and goes to Canada. And China also had an additional 10, so it's 10 plus 10. And it comes in from Canada and it comes in from Mexico, and that's a very important thing to say. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Have you decided if you're going to suspend military aid to Ukraine? Have you made that decision?
Well, I haven't even talked about that right now. I mean, right now, we'll see what happens. A lot of things are happening right now as we speak. I mean, literally as we speak. I could give you an answer and go back to my office, the beautiful Oval Office. I could go back into the Oval Office and find out that the answer is obsolete. It's like his business. It's obsolete. You come up with a new chip and it's obsolete about 2 minutes later, right? But that's what's good about his business. That's why he's the only one that's successful in it. But
Just to follow up on my colleague's question, from Russia saying that your foreign policy is largely in line with their vision, should that be concerning to Americans?
said what?
Should that be concerning to Americans?
Read the statement.
That Russia says that your administration's foreign policy is, quote, largely in line with their vision.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think it takes two to tango, and you're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine. You're going to have the assent, and you're going to have the consent from the European nations, because I think that's important, and from us. I think everybody has to get into a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal. And the deal can be made very fast. It should not be that hard a deal to make. It can be made very fast. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal, and if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. That person will not be listened to very long, because I believe that Russia wants to make a deal. I believe certainly the people of Ukraine want to make a deal. They've suffered more than anybody else. We talk about suffering. They've suffered. But if you think about it, under President Bush, they got Georgia, right? Russia got Georgia. Under President Obama, they got a nice big submarine base, a nice big chunk of land where they have their submarines. You know that, right? Crimea. Under President Trump, they got nothing. And under President Biden, they tried to get the whole thing. They tried to get the whole big Ukraine, the whole thing. If I didn't get in here, they would have gotten the whole thing. So I can only say, you can go back to Bush, you can go back to Obama, and go back to Biden. They took a lot. The only one they didn't get, you know what I gave them? I gave them anti-tank missiles. That's what I gave them. I gave them sanctions on Russia. I gave them javelins. You know the javelins? You know when they took out all those tanks? You know the tanks were heading to Kiev by the hundreds, and they were unstoppable. And I gave them javelins. So, you know, I really, Putin is the one that will tell you this has not been so good for them. The fact is that I just want fairness. I want fairness. But think of it. I gave Russia nothing except grief. I gave them nothing. I gave them sanctions and javelins. That's what I gave them. Obama gave them sheets, and you heard that statement before. It's a very famous. Trump gave them javelins, and Obama gave them sheets, and then they say how close I am to Russia. And let me tell you, we have to make a deal because there are a lot of people being killed that shouldn't be killed. But remember, Trump gave them nothing, and the other presidents gave them a lot. They gave them everything.
Mr. President, on trade, you met with Argentine President Javier Milei at CPAC. He wants to sign a free trade agreement with the United States. Is that something that you would consider even with Argentina?
I'll consider anything. And Argentina, I think he's great, by the way. I think he's a great leader. He's doing a great job. He's doing a fantastic job. Brought it back from oblivion. Yeah, we'll look at things. We're looking at the UK with things. It doesn't have to be tariffs, but tariffs are easy. They're fast, they're efficient, and they bring fairness. For instance, when people kill their dollar, their equivalent of the dollar, whether it's the yuan or the yen in Japan or the yuan in China, when they drop them down, that puts us at a very unfair disadvantage. So all I have to do is say, Howard, we're going to have to raise the tariffs a little bit, because I've called President Xi, I've called the leaders of Japan to say you can't continue to reduce and break down your currency. You can't do it because it's unfair to us. It's very hard for us to make tractors, Caterpillar, here when Japan, China, and other places are killing their currency, meaning driving it down. So all of these things add up. And the way you solve it very easily is with tariffs, because when they do that, instead of having to make phone calls every day like I used to do with certain leaders, President Xi a little bit, a lot of phone calls, talking about the fact that they're lowering their yuan, they're lowering it down, and that makes it very, very hard for us. So this way I just say, look, let them do that, and we make up for it with the tariffs. But
Will you be speaking with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum about that?
yeah, sure, I will. I have a lot of respect for her. I have a lot of respect for her.
Mr. President, takes effect. It'll be 20% on China now. How high are you willing to go against China?
Well, I can't say. It depends on what they do with their currency. It depends on what they do in terms of a retaliation with some kind of an economic retaliation, which I don't think they're going to retaliate too much. Hey, look, the United States has been taken advantage of for 40 years. The United States has been a laughingstock for years and years. That's why this gentleman is built in Taiwan instead of building here. It would have been better if he built here. If we had a president that knew what they were doing, and we had a lot of them very bad on trade. Look, I'm a huge fan of Ronald Reagan, but he was bad on trade, very bad on trade. He allowed a lot of people, a lot of businesses to be taken. So I say that with due respect, because he was so great on other things, but he was bad on trade. We are setting records right now, records like nobody has ever seen before. When you have companies like this coming in, and almost 40% of their company in one signature is going to be devoted to what he does, which is one of the most important businesses in the world. That's an unbelievable thing. When Apple now is going to start building all of their plants here, all because of what we've done in terms of, it's not because he likes me or they like me. They don't probably like me at all. I don't know. I think he likes me a little bit at least. But you know what? It's the incentive we created, or the negative incentive. I mean, it's going to be very costly for people to take advantage of this country. They can't come in and steal our money and steal our jobs and take our factories and take our businesses and expect not to be punished. And they're being punished by tariffs. It's a very powerful weapon that politicians haven't used because they were either dishonest, stupid, or paid off in some other form. And now we're using them. Say it.
Have you spoken with President Xi about this?
I don't want to tell you that. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Running for New York City mayor.
Okay, you were just listening in to an investment announcement from President Trump in the Roosevelt Room there with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and the CEO of the Taiwanese company TSMC, which is one of the #1 chips manufacturing companies in the world, actually. And so this comes on top of what this company, this Taiwanese manufacturing company, had announced under the Biden administration, that they were going to invest $65 billion to start creating chips in Arizona. This was back in 2024. And so this is an additional $100 billion now to invest in manufacturing chips here in the U.S. Just for context, for some of you wondering, what are chips? What are these semiconductors? This really is a big picture strategy by this administration and also by the previous administration. You might remember President Biden's Chips and Science Act of 2022, where his goal was to bring more chips manufacturing to the U.S. So you're seeing President Trump championing that even further. The reason is this is in competition with China and some of these other Asian countries. And when you think about chips and what they are, anything that has technology, your phone, your car, your microwave, pretty much everything that we use every day has a semiconductor chip in it. It helps turn it off and on. It's part of the technology. And so right now, Taiwan actually holds over 60% of the market on manufacturing chips. China holds another percentage, but the U.S. only holds 6% of manufacturing, which is one of the reasons you look at Apple, who the president announced just last week, announced a $500 billion investment in the U.S. to make more products here. This is really big for the U.S. as we try to compete with other countries around the world. You heard a question there by one of the members of the media asking about national security. And so this has been a national security concern for many years now, as the U.S. has lost ground on this industry not being housed in the U.S. So the majority of our chips for anything that we use, as I just mentioned, is manufactured in other parts of the world. So you heard the president as well say that 40% of the market will now be here in the U.S. So you think about it, right now we have about 6% of the market. For us now to have 40% of the market is quite substantial. One other note I thought was really fascinating that someone asked, which was quite telling, is about this rare earth minerals deal that was on the table with Ukraine last week. With that meeting we saw blow up in the Oval Office between Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, Vice President J.D. Vance, and President Trump was about that minerals deal. To create chips into these semiconductors, you have to have these rare earth minerals, and the U.S. only has about 1% of rare earth minerals around the world. Ukraine has 5%, which is actually quite substantial. One of the reasons that the president is so interested in going into partnership with Ukraine to help build their economy and also to help the U.S., as really the goal is to ramp up semiconductor manufacturing in the U.S. The other thing you heard him talking about there, and the reason Howard Lutnick was there, Commerce Secretary, is to talk about tariffs. You heard the president say that the negotiating time for Canada and for Mexico is over. It's off the table. A 25% tariff will go into place with those countries tonight at midnight, an additional 10% on China. So ultimately 20%. The president had already put 10% in place. But the reason I bring that up specifically as we talk about this investment announcement that was just made moments ago, it's one of the reasons that you have this Taiwanese manufacturing company of semiconductors bringing more manufacturing to the U.S., to their Arizona manufacturing plant there, is to avoid tariffs on these products. And that's been a part of Trump's goal all along, to bolster our economy. He talks about fair trade, lowering the trade deficit, is really to force. That's oftentimes why people use tariffs. It's a very targeted approach to either force U.S. companies to try to buy products that are made here in the U.S., or to encourage other companies to invest in the U.S. and build manufacturing plants here. And indeed, that's what we're seeing happen here with these investments. Again, Apple last week, Microsoft, and others. So this really is quite an astounding announcement. You heard the president saying that he thought it would bring 25,000 jobs to the market here. And again, take 40% of the semiconductor markets, which right now we have around 6%. So that is a huge growth. And just a note as well on TSMC, the Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturing company, they are one of the top 3 semiconductor manufacturers in the entire world. And actually, this came out when Biden made the announcement last year. They have the most advanced chips of any manufacturing company in the world. They are believed to be the #1 very competitive company. And so this is a really big deal for the U.S. to be able to have this type of manufacturing happening in the U.S. And then you heard him talking about now he'll be able to work this company more fluidly here in the U.S. with companies like Apple, whose most of their manufacturing takes place in China and other Asian countries. So a big development for the U.S. and for this announcement. Again, $100 billion billion investment on top of the $65 billion that TSMC had already announced last year with President Biden under the CHIPS and Science Act. And lastly, this comes as the president is getting ready to give his joint address to Congress tomorrow night and has really talked about the type of investments that he's bringing here to the U.S. So quite fascinating to see his strategy as he seeks to bolster U.S. manufacturing in the U.S. But also at the same time, when we have these tariffs going into place with our neighboring countries of Mexico and Canada, who we do so much trade with. Mexico is our largest trade partner in the world, and Canada also one of our large trade partners for lumber and also for car manufacturing. And so there is concern about what that may look like to the car industry as those tariffs are set to go into effect this evening. So much more on this tonight on the news on Merit TV, but wanted to give you those updates. This is quite an astounding announcement to see the U.S. him saying is going to be taking 40% of the semiconductor market, which is a huge advancement. Many people would say that the U.S. is quite far behind since we only hold about 6% of the semiconductor market right now. And again, semiconductors and chips, everything that you use, anything that has technology has a semiconductor in it. And so it is the key to the future and the race in this against China and to stay on top of technologies and AI and ultimately the future. So breaking news here from the White House this afternoon, and we'll have much more tonight on the news on Merit TV at 7 p.m. Hope to see you there.
On Monday, December 7th, we got a call from Josh and Susan's daycare provider. She'd said, I haven't